Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Circle Time. I think we're a little bit rowdy this morning, so if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sitting quietly, nicely, and looking up here. Today, we are going to have a fun lesson. I'm going to tell you a neat story about Mount St. Helens and how it erupted, and then we're going to learn how to retell our own stories using the idea of before, during, and after. So let's start by I have a question. Has anyone here ever visited Mount St. Helens before? I see 2 people have. That's awesome. Okay, we're not going to share stories about your visit there yet. We can talk about that after our activity. But first, I'm going to show you a map of Washington State. And this shows where Mount St. Helens is located. It is south of Seattle and a little bit closer to the border of Oregon State. That Oregon State is below us in Washington State. So, I'm going to tell this story in 3 parts: before, during, and after. This is a picture of what the mountain looked like before it erupted. That looks like a typical mountain we imagine. It kind of goes into a point, and scientists knew that this mountain was a volcano. A volcano means that there's a chance that it can erupt in the future. Scientists predicted that this mountain could explode because they saw and felt different things that helped them predict that it was going to explode. They saw steam and ash come out in smaller bursts, and then they were able to use tools to measure the ground movements. Little earthquakes called tremors were happening below the surface, which showed that movement was happening. And these things are called volcanic activity. So volcanic activity was happening for several weeks before the big eruption. Then, on May 18th of 1980, at 8:32 a.m., the eruption happened. So this is our during picture. What happened during the eruption? An earthquake happened, and then a loud boom, and then an immense eruption of hot steam, ash, and smoke blasted out into the sky. It went high up into the sky, and lots of mud slid down the mountain, taking down trees, and the sky actually got dark from all the ash in different parts of our country and traveled far distance, even into different parts of the earth. What did the mountain look like afterwards? Here's a photo of what it looks like now. This is after the eruption. You can see a big crater is here. That is where the remember the point of the mountain used to be here? And now it's not there. You can see sky instead of the point. So this eruption caused a change in the landscape, and now it is a park that you can go and visit or hike, and scientists continue watching it for any more volcanic activity. And then the ash, there's still a lot of ash on the mountain, but it also, during the eruption, the ash went all over, and then people collected it, like this souvenir here. It says Mount St. Helens, May 18th, 1980, and it's ash in a little jar. And people collected the ash in jars like this, and they sell them as souvenirs, things that people can take with them to think about Mount St. Helens and that event in our history. So now, are there any questions about this neat story? Yes, Sarah, I see your hand raised. Okay, Sarah asks if Mount St. Helens has always been called Mount St. Helens. That is a really good question. So there are Native American tribes in that area, and in their history, they had different names for that mountain. And that is a good question. We will look up those different names after we do our activity. So thank you for asking that. So that was a big story. And let's think about smaller stories now. Let's transition to our activity. Raise your hand if you enjoy telling your friends stories about things that have happened to you in your life. Yes, I see all hands up. I see we all like retelling stories. Retelling stories is when you tell the same story again and again. Each story has parts that make up the entire story. So, what are those parts? I mentioned it. We could think about retelling a story in parts such as first, second, or third, or beginning, middle, end, or like I was saying, before, during, and after. So now think of a story that you want to share, and don't say it until I call on you. Think about a story, maybe something that happened to you during the summer that you want to share with your classmates. It does not have to be as big of a story as a mountain erupting. So when I call on you, tell me what your idea is, and then I will use you as an example for our activity. Okay, let's see, hands raised. Ben, I see your hand raised and sitting quietly, thank you. What's your story idea? Okay, Ben says that he moved into a new house this summer and now his grandma lives with them. That's great. So Ben, what would you draw for before? So we're going to draw a picture up here and then write one sentence. So this is before or first. Yes, you could draw a picture of your old house. And then during or second part of the story. Good idea. You could draw a picture of your family moving boxes. And then our after or third part of our story. What could you draw for this one? Good idea. You could draw a picture of your new house with you, your mom, dad, and grandma. So Ben is going to draw the before, during, and after his move. And then he's going to write one sentence that describes that picture that he drew. Describing means telling about the photo or telling about the picture you drew. So I know you guys did a lot of these last year in kindergarten, so this should be familiar to you. And when we put them side by side, these three images and sentences will tell a story that shows change happening over time. All right, let's go back to our desks and start working.